So there you have it. Go to a website that explains to us exactly why Tobey Maguire is the best Spider-Man. And the reason that we're able to do that is because we made a function that pulls that off and a button that activates our function. I'm going to put 2 backslashes here and make what's called a comment. This is basically a little note about what this does. Below named Spider-Man. Section of code called by the button. Whenever it uses its name. So the reason that we made this structure for today is so that we could call this change that we learned about last class, document.getElementById, by using the name Spider-Man whenever we want to roll with it. And that's the advantage of functions. One more thing I would like to share with you, though. We mentioned before that you can name a function whatever you want to, with a few exceptions. No spaces in their names. Just any one word, like Spider-Man. They are case sensitive. So if you put lowercase s Spider-Man, if you put lowercase s Spider-Man in your, say, your button, and then when you define the function, you make it uppercase s, it's not going to work. You got to make sure that they have the same case. Always use a pair of parentheses at the end of the name, like we had Spider-Man parentheses, and use squiggly brackets around the lines of code that you want it to run. You'll see that our example meets this requirements. One word, no spaces. It's got parentheses at the end. The capitalization is the exact same in HTML and in JavaScript. And I've got a squiggly bracket here and here so that it runs this line of code inside. If you wanted to change 2 things with the same button, you can add additional changes here. Original button. And in fact, if you wanted to make a second button that does something different, you can write the code for another function. Just do exactly what we did up here. Give it a different name, and it'll change something else. Let's get on a little bit. That's what your assignments are for tonight. First things first, I would really like to get back in the habit of using those little discussion groups by email. We've been okay with it the last couple of days. I am going to give you a little 1-point grade for doing it and sending an email to your friends today. You have 2 things to do with your group. Number 1, explain who you think the best of our 3 possible Spider-Man anchors are. Was it Andrew Maguire, Tom Holland, or Tobey Maguire? Give some reasoning behind who you think is the best. And if you haven't seen any Spider-Man movies, make a hilarious joke about how you don't know what's going on in this conversation. Number 2, we just looked at how functions can change the words that exist on a page. Give an example of something else you would use a function for. What else do you think you could possibly use a function for? Go ahead and pause the video here and send your email. The discussion groups are listed on Haiku if you forget them from last class. Once you have sent your email to your discussion group, come on back and we'll talk about what your IP is for tonight. All right. If you go to Haiku, there's a couple things that you're going to want to open up. You can check your discussion groups to send your email if you haven't already. Everything that I talked about in my lecture today is in this note sheet, 4.2, Making Working Buttons with JavaScript, which looks like this below and has what all the parts of the code here do. Go to the part that says 4.2. Functions in JavaScript explanation. And hopefully you've already gotten open our example code. You can go ahead and click the button, use this template, because you're going to edit it today. And also go ahead and click and open up this Google form 4.2. You'll put your email address in. Questions 1 through 5 give you 2 lines of example code and ask you to explain some basics of how functions work. Question 6 through 8 ask you to make some changes to the code example that I've given here today. Copy the template code put on Haiku and create another working button that changes a different element on the page. Here's our template that I'll copy yourself. And you'll notice at the bottom of a page, it says change me to something. Over here, I'm going to make a comment. And in the space below this, create another button with a different function. If we want to do that, we have one button up here that uses the function name Spider-Man that changes this code that says answer here. I want you to create another button with a different function name. Then you'll write some code that'll change the H1 tag below, say something else. Compare this line of code, this first H1. What else do we need to add to it so that it works? And then last but not least, this is the function Spider-Man that changes the ID answer. So it says Tobey Maguire is definitively the coolest. Write another function in the space over here to change something else. To change this H1 tag, so it says something different. And when you're done, you'll go ahead and save your code. On 4.2, whatever the code was for your button in HTML, go ahead and copy that line of code that you wrote into this space so that I can see it. For question number 7, the function that you wrote in JavaScript, paste the code below and explain how it decides which tag to change. And last but not least, just like you've done for the last couple assignments, go to the top over here, save it, copy your address, put it in the Google Form. This is the last full assignment that you really have to submit for my class before spring break. If you have some downtime, a few suggestions though. There are some challenge problems here. If you look back at the notes from last class, I want to see if you can figure out how to do the following. Change the text or background color to red when a button is clicked. Change an image to a different feature when a button is clicked. Feel free to do that in your code. Getting it. Last but not least, Thursday is a C day. There's no new assigned material. You just want to get it out of the way. You don't want to be doing all of your 7 classes on the C day. There's just a little survey that I want you to take. That's about 5 questions. Only one of them actually asks you about code. You can knock it out today if you want to, and then be done for the week. Here's some further instructions for the IP assignment that you're working on. If you want to see it, feel free to pause your video and take a look at it. This will probably be the last time that you hear my voice for about 2 weeks. Thanks so much for watching these videos, for working so hard, for continuing to work on e-learning. You guys have probably heard we're out of school till May 1st. I don't know how everybody's feeling about that. If you feel like you're missing school, if you feel like you want to break from e-learning, feel free to drop by my office hours and chat. I always enjoy hearing from you guys. And all the best. Good luck in the coming days and